why do they not get involved in big release dates? Why are they not like shouting about this driver more? Srixon are known as a brand that create really high quality clubs, but we never see them talked about in the market. We're not even sometimes aware of the release. Now I'm talking about the Srixon ZX5 driver to be precise, and I've been looking at a few forums, and I've read a few comments where golfers have been going from their Ping driver into this. And we all know, right? Ping are super forgiving drivers, so does this mean this is one of those, but at a cheaper price? Well, I'm gonna put it to the test today. And I'm not just gonna stand here and whack drivers off one hole. I'm gonna put it fully to the test. So we're gonna play the 15th, which, because if you look at it right here, we need accuracy and distance to get over the water and evade this bunker right here. I mean, this is a tough hole, and it's into the wind today. Thank you. We're also going to play 17, which equally is a really tough driving hole. And then finally, we'll finish on 18, where it's going to be a little bit downwind and we can open the shoulders and see what distance we can get. Now, I'm really going to be on at this driver. I'm going to be looking at distance, dispersion, ball speed, and spin rate. Are they any good? And just to let you know, I've got Scottsdale to fit me with a 60-gram stiff shaft. So something very similar to what I use currently, because I want to make this test as fair as possible. But look at that, right? Srixon ZX5 back weighting MK2. This is a beautiful looking club, and that matte finish. Anyway, let's have a bit of a further look at this down behind the golf ball. Let me show you the hole we're going to take this on. Oh geez. So this is the hole right here. We're waiting for the greenkeeper to move, but look, there's the water. The greenkeeper's just driving past the bunker. We need to just be right of that house. That's the ideal, right? Absolute ideal. And instead of just hitting one off each tee, I'm definitely going to stand here and hit two, just because then we can get 2 off this tee, 2 off 17, 2 off 18. Now look at this down behind the ball. Quite interesting because it doesn't scream a massive head. Maybe that's the matte look. It does look slightly triangular at the back. Now, the Srixon first edition of the ZX5 driver universally was like really well received, boasting killer looks, incredible amounts of technology. The Srixon now have got the ZX5 MKII, and it's got a little bit more technology than the previous model. But look at that, right? Matte finish, no glare, looks really, really good down behind the ball. Now, I mentioned these forums about golfers moving from one driver to the next in terms of gaming this club, but they did also mention the sound, and it does sound a little tonky tapping it right there. Interestingly though, will this be a club that I will game over what I've got right now? Now, ball speeds we're looking for around the 160 mark, clubhead speed over the 110 mark, and the carry, it's cold today, I guess sort of upwards to sort of the 245, 250-ish. I don't know, feels like winter, but around that point. So I guess let's hit our first drive away with this. I'm interested to know what this feels and goes like. Oh, that sounds tonky. It sounds weird. That sounds strange. A lot different to my current driver, but you know what? We found the middle of that fairway on that first hit. And remember, when we're looking for a driver in 2024, apparently it seems to be that we just have to go down the forgiving category, and that seemed to hit the fairway right there.
So let's have a look at these numbers, and to start with, a 157.3 ball speed, a 108 clubhead speed, and have a look at that distance right there. The one thing I'm going to note is how high that spin is.
Like I say, a little on that high side. That clubhead speed was 108 as well, a little on that lower side than what I was expecting. It is the first drive though, so let's hit another one away here. Important thing is, we have hit the fairway. Okay, total distance around that 250 mark. Let's see if we can match that again right here. That was hit much better. That was hit much better. Tell you what, I think you'll be able to throw a blanket over them. Oh no, that's gone way further than the first one. That's mad. That is really mad. Like when you get down there and you see where they finished, that's gonna be crazy. And look, right, we got 269 yards, Clubhead speed was a little down again, but look where that ball speed has just got to, a 160.5. Okay, now I've hit 2 away, what I really do like is this matte finish. I mentioned it before, but I'm really enjoying the subtlety of this centre mark and these white outer strips. And then the look of the face, when you've got it down at the ball, it again looks sort of like a matte finish, which is very different to my Taylormade QI10. And that spin was 2,900. Okay, let me just talk a little bit of tech about this. You'll have noticed a little bit of the looks that it comes with an 8-gram weight here at the back. And essentially, anytime you have back weight in, it makes it a bit more spinny and makes it a little bit more forgiving and helps golfers launch it. You've also got this variable thickness face, and this is really common right now. And essentially that means even on off-center hits, you've got a much better chance of still achieving some good ball speed. Now what's interesting on that M2, when we drive down there, is that there is literally, in my eyes here, I know I didn't get that first one great, it was a little on the spinny side, but there's a massive, massive difference in how far that second one went to the first one. That second one I really got. Now, on this new driver, on the MKII and the ZX5, it has a larger footprint that's been flattened, but it's weird, like, I wouldn't look at it and say like it's being flattened, it looks much bigger. Like for example, right, you look at the QI10 Max and the new Ping 10K Max driver, right, you look at them and you go, ooh, they've definitely been stood on, they definitely look squished. I don't get that vibe with this one at all, which I actually think is a good thing because, and I say this because, like sometimes I think the one looks a bit cumbersome, a little bit too big. This is the first drive. And the second one is there. Look at the difference in that. Again, both have hit that fairway right in that sweet spot. There's the water, and we teed off just back there. So let's collect these then and head to the 17th. So far, you know what, I'm impressed. Both have hit the fairway, even on a bit of a bad spinny one, I'm still in play, which is key. And I'm not getting vibes that it's like an oversized head. I'm saying oversized, we all know it can't be bigger than a 460cc head. And that's just because that's the rules. But what people do is they make the footprint as big as possible. Like that's the new drivers we've seen this year. And in some of them, it's been really noticeable in the sense of like, you're like, oh, that looks strange. Okay, so let's talk price point, because I mentioned at the start of this video, Srixon don't really get involved in big releases. We don't really see them talk about their clubs so much. And it often baffles me because if it's a club that performs well, why not? Or is that so it allows them to put them at a cheaper price point? Because I think that possibly could be the point. Let me know what you think on that. Is that something that you've been aware of? Did you even know this driver was out? So as I was mentioning, it features a larger footprint and a flattened shape and a higher skirt along with an adjustable 8-gram rear weight. This literally combines heightened forgiveness, sharper looks, and exceptional swing feel with gorgeous drives that launch straight, high, and go the distance. Now, I would say that my first drive that I hit did launch high. Even the second one wasn't a flat flight, but not an unpleasant flight in the sense of I didn't feel like it was spinning too much. Well, it clearly wasn't. The first one did, but the second one was a little bit lower, under that 3,000 mark. I want to just be careful though, because I've only hit 2. We need to hit 2 more on this next hole, the 17th. I'll show you this hole, but first let's talk price point, right? That's a big one for me. And price point, I think, is an interesting topic. And what I mean by this is, like, if you look at Taylormade and Callaway and Ping, we see them all the time on adverts, right? We see them all the time, and we can probably name more players that play Taylormade, Callaway and Ping than we can the likes of even Cobra and Srixon. So that leads me to the price. So the price of this driver is roughly around the £429 mark. I'm not saying this is cheap, by the way. I'm saying it's cheaper than the rest. If you're looking at a Taylormade, you're looking around $499, Callaway $499, and Ping $549. So does the marketing budget of these brands make a big influence on what price we then buy the driver at? I know it sounds a bit controversial. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me. I've said this about the Wilson irons, and I feel the same way about this driver. Now, I know it's early days. I've only hit 2 shots away, but it's full of technology. I mean, we've got a rebound frame, we've got this back weighting, we've got a variable thickness face. It's a really good looking driver. The sound at the minute's a little questionable. But let's move on to the 17. And I told you this was a hard hole. Look, like you've got to drive it literally into here. It's a stroke index 2. I'm playing it off the whites, 463 this time. Oh, this sounds bizarre what I'm about to say, but what's your perception of Srixon as a brand? Like, I always think they're a bit like a Mizuno. Really well-made clubs, like really well-made clubs, but just not, I mean, I'm not saying they're cheap, but just at a slightly different price bracket. I know some of the irons are very similar, but this certainly is a little bit on the cheaper side, like in the realms of Cobra, which we've always classed as, in recent years, as really good value for money. Now, if I asked you about sound, how much of a big role does that play in buying a driver? I would have said a few years ago for me, sound plays a big role, but after testing so many drivers this year, for me it plays less of a role right now. Okay, so where we want to hit this here is roughly around here. That's the finishing spot for this hole, 17. This is a bit of a toughie, right? Real toughie. Oh, pose it.
So let's take a closer look at these numbers. A 161.9 ball speed, nice. Nearly touching a 110 clubhead speed. And let's replay that shot. We got this shot just around that 277 yard marker, which has to be one of the longest that we've had so far in this vlog. Okay, let's hit a couple more. But what are your thoughts of this driver? Are you liking the sound? Are you liking the look? And what are you thinking of the numbers? Is it something you're like, I'm intrigued by this. I want to take it out further. Now let's have a little look at these numbers too. 268 and a 160.6 ball speed. That's a little better.
So what did you think of those two shots? Like, they were poker straight. They literally left the corner. And what was bizarre, like the winds in throughout the left here, I definitely thought they were going to drift a lot more than they did. Now, spin was a little high, right near that 3,000 mark, but I reckon these are like really close together. Ball speed was up the 160 mark, and the clubhead speed still is slightly under 110. Now, I know a little bit the shaft's got to do with that, but I'm surprised how low it is. Also, what is really interesting is that flight. This is a 9.5 degree driver, but look how high it is launching. And I think that's to do with that back weight. But if you're looking for a driver that is higher launching, this definitely is, because this is 9.5 degrees and it's launching higher than what I have with my 10.5 in my QI10. Look at these. Look how close they are. Look at them. Look at them. They're blooming perfect. And when I say perfect, I literally mean it. Literally. This is ball 2. This was ball 1. That was just short of 270. This was just over 270. Finishing. Like, this is seriously good. Seriously good. Now, I have to say this. It's not as long as my current driver, but it certainly feels very, very accurate. And you've got to think, my current driver, right? Let's get another T-peg. Here it is. I've been fitted for, so it blooming should be. But yeah, things to point out right now. Sound isn't my favorite. It's very, hopefully you can hear this. Tonky, dong. It's not dull. Yeah. It could be a deal breaker for some people, but I'm enjoying hitting this. I've hit 2 shots on the 15th, 2 shots here on 17, and both have found the fairway. And not even just found the fairway, found it exactly where I want. I will say this though, I'm going to say it again, it is going a little shorter. So let's talk about another piece of tech before we turn downwind, and I'm going to really open my shoulders on this one. Now, what's really interesting, we've not seen many titanium drivers this year, and in fact, many titanium drivers in general. A lot more of the drivers we see have a lot more carbon on them. Now, this Srixon driver has a star frame crown, and with the star frame is a complex of a series of ridges of lattice work which provide structural integrity necessarily for remarkably thin titanium crowns. So I guess this means an ultra lightweight design, and that gives the freedom for Srixon to directionally change mass to where it best suits the ZX MKII drivers, ideal for launch and spin characteristics. So I guess for this driver, the ZX5, a little bit lower, a little bit further back, making it more forgiving. So you're getting, I mean, I'm reading this here, you're getting bags of technology, adjustability, variable thickness face, you're getting adjustable weight, you can buy different weights for that back point, and you can change the loft. It is an adjustable driver. So let's now move on to the 18th, the par 5, and you see what I mean? I mean, it looks quite tight with these bunkers, but it is quite, I mean, open. It's also downwind, but I'm just looking at these numbers, look. A 160.6 ball speed on that last shot. 12 degrees of launch, but that overall apex, I'm gonna say it again, it just feels a little bit high. Now, downwind, that may play a slightly different role, may make it go a lot further. I've got to remember, who do I think this driver's for? So, let me give you a bit of opinion. So far, I think this driver is great for somebody with a lower swing speed. And again, I'm being very careful what I say here because I've not been fitted for this driver. But I would really say this right here, if you're somebody who needs more forgiveness with a slightly lower swing speed, you're definitely gonna see higher launch characteristics than most other drivers, or at least standard model drivers. If you can get over the sound, it looks blooming good, you know. I can't believe that's a bigger, wider footprint. I really can't. Okay, we're now on the last. Let's open these shoulders. Look at this hole. Just look at this hole. But even saying all of that, I think with the right shaft, this would spin a little bit less, and I might get a few more yards out of it. I can't get over the look of that. I really can't. Enough of what I think, right? What do you think? That noise is loud. I was sort of pausing there because I thought it was going to drift loads because it's like there the wind, but it really didn't. Look at this. Okay, so we just managed to get the ball speed up to 162.3, a club head speed of 109.8, and now that high launch is coming in handy, right? 293 total and a 255 carry. But look mad, right? The spins come down on that shot, but with this being downwind, it was just like in the wind and staying. Now granted, like you want a driver that doesn't just perform and go long downwind, you need it to be good in all conditions. But I think a lot of that, or majority of that, or some of that, is to do with the shaft. But we can only test with what we've been given. I'm enjoying that though. I'm gonna take that every time. I mean, can you see the wind on my hair? The one thing I really want to hammer home right now is that I feel really consistent with this driver. I feel like I could hit a lot of the fairways. Now, after hitting a few shots, like when I'm looking at this down behind the golf ball now, I feel like it does sit very, very square. And even though this is a 9.5 degree driver, I can still see a bit of this face. It doesn't look like really low lofted, which I think is really, really nice, by the way. Nothing worse than it feeling like a bit of a poker straight face. And as you're looking down on it, the white really pops. It gives it a really nice look. Subtle, but nice look. I wonder where this one's gonna finish. Like I say, that wind is like there. This sound, I wish it just sounded a little bit better, but I think it's just because now we're just used to less titanium, more carbon, even like what I'm using right now, a carbon face, and that really changes the dynamics of what sound you get out of a driver. That is launched high. That has got to be long. Oh my, that is still in the air. That is still in the air. That is still in the air, just down now. Like, I didn't get that great. That was a little bit out the toe, I'm not gonna lie. And the ball speed definitely reflects this. 154.9, 108 club head speed, but I reckon this total is a little bit less, 279. But look, right, I knew I didn't get that right. 154.9. But what's gonna be seriously interesting is, that's definitely hit the fairway. The first one was a little bit right. Let's actually see in the real world where that finished. I only knew that was off the toe because it didn't feel quite right, and the ball speed dropped a little bit. In fact, that was the slowest ball speed out of the ones that we've hit. But remember, I'm not just bothered about ball speed, clubber speed, distance. I'm looking at a driver here, not here, here, that is, well, I guess, in that forgiving category. Now, remember what I said. Do you agree with the fact that it's got a smaller marketing budget, or a perceived smaller marketing budget? One of the reasons why it's cheaper. Now, what's really bizarre, well, I guess not bizarre, but over in Asia, Srixon is a much bigger brand than here in Europe and the UK. And it also is very big in South Africa. So, like, I'm looking at this maybe in a very skewed way, in the sense of, I'm looking at it why people aren't really talking about it, because Srixon are smaller in the UK and European market. Right, I can start to see these golf balls. You know what? They launched so high then, didn't they? I know I didn't hit the second one great, but I've still hit the fairway. And look, this is where they finish. Now, my numbers on my full swing, they're not normalized. They don't take into account conditions. They just take into account what happens at impact. And look, there's my first ball right there. And look, here's my second golf ball right here. And over here is my first. Unfortunately, we did miss the fairway on the first one. But look, even though it said it went shorter, they've both gone 290 plus. And I know that just missed the fairway. A yard? Half a yard? Off? Absolutely nothing. So I guess the big question is, would I use this driver? I'm not sure. The sound, even though the look and what I've got in terms of consistency is great, I would have to try this with a fitted shaft. So I have to have a fitted experience with this, just to dial it in. But you know what? Ask me a question like this. If you ask me this and when, is this driver really consistent and really straight? My answer to that question would be yes. Is it the longest driver that I've ever hit? No, it's really not. It's good though. It is really, really good. Now, I hope you enjoyed me testing the brand new Srixon ZX5 MKII driver. I really did enjoy trying this, and don't forget, you power this channel. So whatever you want me to try next, just comment down below, and as long as you subscribed and you turn the bell, I'll test what you want me to next. Plus, coming up on the channel, we've got these. Oh, I can't show you though. They look really cool. Thanks for watching.